In the league that doesn't do mercy, week 6 handed us absolute cinema, as this was the week that giants were slayed. Crystal Palace kicked things off and weren't just bloodied by a giant, they rewrote their era at Selhurst. City stopped flirting with form and hit the accelerator. Brentford stung Old Trafford back to silence. Chelsea let control turn into chaos, and Spurs learned yet again that dominance without finishing invites punishment. These stories aren't random, there's a pattern, and momentum is choosing. Here's what we learned in Premier League Matchweek 6. Crystal Palace 2, Liverpool 1. If you're a Palace fan, you're living a golden chapter. Silverware in the FA Cup and the Community Shield. Now giant killers by reputation, and Glasner's team is playing like a unit, stitched together by will. They're three at the back as steel, a midfield that runs and plays forward, and a front line that has that perfect blend of pace, power, and IQ, and from minute one, they press Liverpool's throat. Gay won the duel from a corner to head it across goal, allowing Sarr to score the opening goal of the game, with Sarr continuing to showcase he is one of the underrated right wingers in the Premier League. Moments after that, Henderson produced a save of the season contender from a driven, powered effort by Gravenberch outside the box. Crystal Palace weren't fearful of these moments. Instead, they became emboldened, and they would have thought they had their moment to steal the game in the first half when Daniel Munoz thought he was about to double their lead. However, Alisson had other ideas, but that didn't stop Crystal Palace from peppering shots. Mateta was having a personal battle with Alisson, with his first attempt coming from a pass fed to him by Watson, with Alisson showing strong palms to deny him. However, the punch finally came, and it was Chiesa, Liverpool's unlikely clutch man this season, who found himself yet again potentially stealing the headlines. Selhurst felt defeated for a breath because the script had one more page. A cross, a chest control, and a driven strike by Eddie Nketiah stole the game for Crystal Palace in the 97th minute. There was much debate around him being offside, but VAR got the decision correct, and Nketiah's ice-cold finish secured the 3 points for Crystal Palace. This means that Crystal Palace continue their unbeaten start to the season, and a reminder that to Liverpool, not everything is going to go your way this season if you hope to make it back-to-back titles. Man City 5, Burnley 1. This was City playing with intent, not pass for passing, but passing to hurt, with Phil Foden opening the accounts early on in the game after latching on to Doku's bright play down the left-hand side. Burnley briefly leveled, courtesy of Jadon Anthony scoring his 4th goal of the season. Make sure you guys have him in your FPL teams if he is not there already. However, Man City weren't worried at all by Burnley leveling the game, because Doku was inspired today with his direct weaving runs through Burnley, and Man City made it 2-1 courtesy of the power of Erling Haaland bringing down a cross for Núñez to score with an emphatic finish. And whatever hope that Burnley thought they had was later killed by Oscar Bobb making it 3-1 by latching on with an instinctive first-time finish from a driven cross to the near post. The final moments then fell to what seems to be this season's top goal scorer in Erling Haaland. He makes it 4-1 with a brilliant first-time executed finish, and then through pure aura, power, and fear, one misread long ball is quickly eaten up by Erling Haaland. Moments like this is food and protein for the striker, as the Viking will forever feast these types of opportunities. For Burnley, this was their first humbling after a bright start to the season, but there are lessons that can be learned here for sure. For Man City, you can hear the revs from here. Man City look direct, they look hungry, they play with more purpose. You're seeing wider starting positions for their wingers, underlapping lanes for the 8s, and early service towards Erling Haaland. If Man City are accelerating, someone's getting dropped off at the back, and that seemingly feels like that could be falling to Chelsea. Chelsea 1, Brighton 3. Chelsea took control of the first half proceedings in excellent fashion, limiting Brighton's wide players down to barely any opportunities. Chelsea looked bright on the ball, and from the opening minutes, they tested with dangerous free kicks from both Enzo Fernandez and later Reece James. Chelsea were able to assert themselves on the ball, and there were surprise starts in store for 19-year-old Jarrell Hato. Chelsea caused many problems for Brighton, who found it hard to press them to win the ball back, due to Enzo Maresca turning towards using a surprise midfield 3 in the form of Santos, Enzo Fernandez, and Moises Caicedo. So it was no surprise that later on, Chelsea's smart control play led to the opening goal. Moises Caicedo slots in an excellent reverse ball to the on-running run of Reece James, who found fortune with a deflected cross going straight to the path for Enzo Fernandez to head it into the back of the net. For Chelsea, this was the moment that their efficient play had brought. However, Chalobah is quickly forced to react to try and save the situation, but unfortunately becomes the second Chelsea player in consecutive games chance to earn a straight red card. This was a nightmare moment for Chelsea, but this was a moment for Brighton to get back in the game and turn things around. Hertzler knew there was a moment here to take the game away from Chelsea, and he quickly brings on Gruder and Danny Welbeck to add more threat. Maresca reacts, but does he react in the right ways? With Malo Gusto brought on to deal with the threat of Minter, who got forced to the left-hand side, and that was for good reason, because Minter's growing influence caused Chelsea all types of problems, and it was no surprise that Minter creates the action to get the equalizing goal for Danny Welbeck with an excellent cross from the left-hand side. From that moment onwards, Maresca clearly felt like experience was needed, as both Hato and Acheampong, two teenagers, were leading the back line against the experienced Brighton attack, and this only encouraged Brighton to push up forwards. Brighton's positivity rewarded them, as they made it 2-1 due to a back post cross and flick on by Cooper, and they then took the game away from Chelsea completely after another individual error from Sanchez, and the rest of the Chelsea defense allowed Danny Welbeck to make it 2. Chelsea are paying the price for individual errors, ruining whatever game plan and control Maresca is bringing to the team, and for Brighton, this is now 3 wins out of 3 against Chelsea in 2025. It seems like Brighton are taking these feeder club links to Chelsea very personally. Man United 1, Brentford 3. United picked up their first big body of the season over Chelsea last weekend, and many United fans felt, could that win be the turning point, the catalyst for brighter hopes this season? Reality must have hurt when fans got slapped back to it, with the bees stinging, bringing the pain. Brazilian striker and new talisman and Igor showcased brilliant centre-forward play that was a hallmark of the early Premier League days. His relentless use of his physicality constantly imposed Man United. He was creating space for his team, he was bringing teammates into the game, and most importantly, he was leading the line. And he justifiably scored 2 excellent goals to give Brentford a deserved 2-0 lead. His first goal was sensational, expertly timing his run in behind Man United's offside trap before controlling a difficult drop ball with his head, which allowed him to lash it with his left foot first time at a near post angle with immense power. It was a sensational goal and one of the early contenders for goals of the season. His second would have made Didier Drogba proud, because he handled it ragged. He brings the long ball down with a chest control layoff before continuing his run in the box and getting rewarded for positive centre forward play to make it 2-0. United were shocked, but they had to react. 2 goals down, the pressure was mounting, and their moment of hope came courtesy of this summer's big money buy in Benjamin Šeško, who scores his first goal of the season after determined play to make it 2-1. And from that moment, there was a sense that the clock might be swinging in United's favour. And in the second half, the moment of the game came, with Mbeumo brought down at his former ground, having his shirt pulled back. There was much controversy in this moment. Should there have been a red card here, as Mbeumo was brought down when he was through on goal? It's a question we'll never get an answer to. But one man who did come with an answer was Brentford goalkeeper Nketiah, who denied Bruno Fernandes to make his 3rd penalty save out of 5 attempts against him. Brentford's plan throughout this game was to hit Man United on the counter-attack. That's where they felt they could get the advantage, and that advantage was capped off by an emphatic finish outside the box to make it 3-1. Under the management of Keith Andrews, Brentford might be the surprise package that ends up staying up, but for Man United, it continues the pressure mounting against Ruben Amorim. How long can Amorim survive underperforming this drastically with Manchester United? Spurs 1, Wolves 1. Spurs continue their strategy of taking direct, fast attacks to force the lead, and their direct deliveries and early runs are key behind this. And Spurs nearly took the lead courtesy of Kudus' crashing header coming off the crossbar, and at the moment, the right side for Spurs continues to be their main source of inspiration, as Kudus and Bergvall are showing an excellent partnership in the making, combined beautifully down the right hand side in one of the combo moves of the season, with Kudus latching onto a backheel pass from Bergvall to then open his body up and slaughter away with his left foot. But this was denied by an offside whistle. However, Wolves still had hope. Kudus and Bergvall combined yet again with a spectacular overhead attempt from the young Swede, and the moment Spurs had fought for came courtesy of Kudus mayhem. More mayhem was created by Kudus down the right hand side, with Palhinha feeling he should have had a penalty with the appeal being turned down. Spurs felt like their dominance would bring the result, yet the match held different outcomes, with the sucker punch coming from Wolves. Doherty, against his former club, warned Spurs of Wolves' bite, hitting the woodwork from a set piece, and his moment to haunt his former club came courtesy of weak set piece defending. A near post flick on, and Doherty was there for the rebound. Breno had a moment to shine to nearly make it 2-0, and he played an outstanding game, making 8 tackles, the most out of any any player in the Premier League this season. Wolves fought and they could smell their first points of the season. However, in the 94th minute, Mateta, receiving the ball on the left-hand side, comes inside to hit a low-driven in-swinger. The cross is cushioned down, and leader and Palhinha opens his body up and steers an expert half-volley finish to the bottom right corner. Palhinha, alongside Kudus, has been a revelation at Spurs this season, and with his leadership, he could be key to anything Spurs do this season. Palhinha was disappointed, and rightfully so, that after the dominance and performance Spurs showed, they still are unable to convert these performances into wins. Sunderland won, Forest 0. Postecoglou tasted defeat yet again as he hopes to secure his first win as Forest's new manager. Sunderland are riding high right now, and already at this stage of the season are 1 point off from matching Southampton's entire point record from last season. One of Sunderland's key players in Doherty scored the opening goal away from home, with Xhaka's clipped set-piece cross at the back post finding the unmarked Doherty to make it 1-0. Sunderland, with the lead to protect, were rugged in their defensive performance. Yeah, if there was one man that was going to change the tune to things, that was going to be former Ipswich player in Amari Hutchinson. He thought he came close to equalising when his effort was saved at the near post. He then played a brilliant whipped in-swinging cross. However, the reliable Chris Wood was unable to convert. In the end, Sunderland secured the 3 points, and they continue to showcase the intelligent summer window, and whatever Sunderland secured this season, a lot will go down to the brilliant efforts they made in this summer's window, and for Forest, promise is there, but more is still yet needed. Leeds 2, Bournemouth 2 brought an end-to-end feast for the neutral fan. Calvert-Lewin missed the chance early on to take the lead as he denied one of the potential assists of the season after an inventive bicycle kick cross came his way, but his missed time jump meant there was not enough power with his headed effort. Bournemouth wasted no time in waking up, with Antoine Semenyo scoring yet again this season with a brilliant, low-driven, powered effort through Leeds' defensive wall. Leeds, though, bounced back, and they continue this game's pattern of excellent finishes, changing the game. Leeds scoring a brilliant goal at the near post, but George Petrovic unable to make the save due to a slight deflection coming off Semenyo. The game continued in its frenzied state, and Leeds thought they had done it as Longstaff, with his instinctive outside of the boot finish hitting the underside of the wall, made it 2-1. But the last brilliant finish of the game fell down to young French wonderkid in Kroupi, who was unmarked at the back post and scored an instinctive swiveled volley finish from a close distance. On paper, this was a fair and even game, and both clubs will be happy with the point won. Arsenal 2, Newcastle 1, with Liverpool dropping points to the hardest working team in Newcastle, and they thought they had the leads when Gyökeres through on goal was brought down by Nick Pope, and a penalty was awarded. However, on closer inspection, Nick Pope was determined to have got slight contact on the ball, and Newcastle was saved in that moment. Newcastle continued to ride their luck as Arsenal had the opening moments, with Trossard smashing his shot against the crossbar, and it seemed like the luck was paying out for Newcastle in that first half, yet the opening moment of the first half fell to new Colts hero in the making in Nick Voltemade, who effortlessly headed in to make it 1-0 after easily brushing aside Gabriel with his towering header. This was the start of his personal feud with Gabriel, with the Brazilian centre-back very lucky to not have been sent off after seemingly catching Voltemade intentionally in his face. With Arsenal a goal behind, even though they showed promise in the first half, Arteta instantly knew what reactions were needed to change the game around, and it continues his recent streak of adding what Arsenal needs, which clearly demonstrates the quality he has in his squad this season. Off came Mascara, who struggled, in came Saliba and added to the intensity, but an Arsenal performance has got better, with Julian Timbers elevating in the second half, bombing forward, stopping attacks by himself and coming seamlessly close to getting the equaliser after running onto a Zubimendi ball over the top. But the moment that changed the game forever in Arsenal's favour was the introduction of Odegaard in the 80th minute. Could Odegaard have a Pedri-esque style transformation as someone that controls the second phase for Arsenal compared to playing the final pass, as instantly he gets his assist with his cross from the left space, finding Marino with a glancing header. And the moment that immortalised the comeback came in the 97th minute as Declan Rice's in-swinging corner meets the heads of the onrushing Gabriel. Pandemonium kicks in, but the game didn't yet end as Arsenal took the final bit of luck in their favour, as Saliba's clear handball to deny a cross from Newcastle was seemingly allowed. Arsenal secured 2 comebacks now against City and Newcastle, which demonstrates their depth of talent. And if this was going to be the season the title gets secured at the Emirates, there has never been a better season until now. West Ham 1, Everton won. West Ham took the face-swap means personally this weekend when Meme Lord and Graham Potter departed for the incoming Nuno Santos. This decision could prove to be a masterstroke for West Ham considering the context of their current season. But the opening moments went to Everton. Garner whipping in an excellent ball with an in-swinger to catch out West Ham yet again with another headed goal from open play. This will be the key area of improvement needed from Nuno Santos, who was able to master this during his time at Nottingham Forest. Everton's best moments typically came from crosses and from set pieces, but there was a growing sense that their best offensive threats are playing a bit too far apart from each other, with Grealish in the middle and Jai on the left-hand side, and either one of Dewsbury Hall or Dibley on the right-hand side. It feels like there could be more gears to be unlocked in this Everton attack. However, with Everton unable to assert their dominance further with goals, West Ham's threat was growing. Somerville nearly took advantage of a defensive error to level the game, but the moment of the game went to one of the inspired signings of the Prem window this season in Malik Diouf, who secured his third assist of the season already, as his assist found Bowen on the right side and Bowen's curling effort leveled the game. Diouf has stood out big time for West Ham this season with his powerful running style reminiscent of Brazilian Maicon, and his ability to hit accurate crosses on the run makes him a formidable contestant and player. You can see why West Ham were forced to sell Kudus for more money to ensure that they did not lose out on a player of this talent. In the end, honours were shared at Goodison Park. For Everton, there's a sense that they'll have to unlock their attack more, and for West Ham, there's a growing sense that under Nuno Santos' management, he can get West Ham firing as a hard-working, solid, and tough-to-beat team, which is just what they need if they have any hopes of surviving in the Premier League this season. Aston Villa 1, Fulham 3. Fulham took the lead from another set-piece goal courtesy of Jimenez's glancing header at the near post. McGinn, with one of the misses of the season, pounces on a loose Bassey pass but is unable to steer it to equalise early on. Joshua King then finds himself in the spotlight with VAR yet again, and this time his first moment came when it seemed like he was brought down by Martinez when through on goal. But on closer inspection, it seemed like the young talent was forcing the occasion by flicking the ball away from Martinez just before he embraced contact. But moments after that, he was back in it again, and this time controversy fell on a handball which Fulham believed should have been given in their favour as Mateta seemingly denied King's effort on goal. Fulham were incensed, however Aston Villa were galvanised, as Ollie Watkins scored the brilliant equalising goal with a great looping lobbed effort over Leno. Villa hunted in packs to force turnovers. That was their game plan, to hurt Fulham, and McGinn had his moment to rewrite his blushes from the first half as he carried and drove towards goal before firing a superb low-driven effort in the bottom left corner. Villa then killed the game off moments after making it 2-1 with Buendia latching onto a cutback cross, and Villa can thank performances today from Konza, who was immense at the back, making a superb block to deny Fulham, making it 3-2, and with these striking efforts of Ollie Watkins up front. Are you West Ham in disguise, Johns? Might have to die down for another week, with Aston Villa securing their first 3 points of the new season in inspired fashion at home. So that wraps up match week 6 of the Premier League. But what exactly did we learn? Well, we learned that this was the week for the underdogs, with Crystal Palace, Brentford, Brighton, and Sunderland securing 3 big points against opponents no one gave them chances against. Time directness over sterile control, with many teams profiting from direct play out wides, early deliveries, and counter-attacking play to catch their opponents out. And this was the week of the late moments, with Chiesa and Nketiah kick-starting the trend, Villa turning controversy into control, Brighton profiting in extra time to secure 3 points against Chelsea, with Arsenal epitomising this moment with their 2 late goals to turn a 1-0 deficit into a 2-1 comeback. That is everything we learned this week in the Premier League. Make sure you guys stay tuned for match week 7 on Nini FC. Make sure you comment on your moment of this weekend, and I'll catch you guys all later for match week 7.